If you clicked on this video, then you're probably interested in being a top 1% student in 2025, which naturally means you need to be ahead of 99% of the students. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. In fact, I'm going to show you the roadmap I took to do that. And it's actually a really fun roadmap. You don't have to burn yourself out. You don't have to sacrifice a lot of stuff too much. And it's just going to be really, really fun. And I know it works because it's what I've used. If you don't know who I am, my name is Ali Alqaraghuli. I'm a Postdoctoral Fellow at the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab. I did my bachelor's, master's, and PhD in electrical engineering when I was only 26 years old. I also got my position here at NASA, which is obviously really cool. I've done a lot of things. I've done 7 internships. I've published a lot of research papers. And besides like academic and professional success, I've also made a music album. I've written a book. I run 2 YouTube channels. I also run a part-time business that makes more money for my job because I do my job for fun. I've also traveled. I've been in 35 countries. And I've spent a shit ton of time playing Rocket League, playing chess, and just hanging out with my friends. So not only does this roadmap or 5 steps that I tell you about, like, not only does it really work for academic success, it also really translates like really well in just like how to live a productive and enjoyable life and be able to manage your time in a way where you can like achieve your wildest dreams, be in the top 1%, but still have plenty of time to have fun. So now, before I go ahead and explain the 5 steps that go ahead and help you achieve that, you need to understand that these are kind of like the way this is going to be a very sequential method, like a 5-step process where each step depends on the one before. And what I mean by that is you want to think of it kind of like a house. What we're going to do is with step 1, we're going to build the foundation, like the first floor, and then we're going to build step 2, and then step 3, and step 4, and step 5. So you need to pay attention to every step before you go ahead and implement the one before. If you, for example, don't implement step 2, steps 3, 4, 5 are not going to work. So step 1, we're actually going to go ahead and do right now in this video. Steps 2 and 3 have to do kind of with things you're going to build inside your brain over time. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. And then steps 4 and 5 have more to do with the external world, more with like kind of like how to interact with other humans and with objects in the real world in general. So I'm going to just go ahead and erase this and we're going to get into it. I'm going to be drawing things along the way just so you can understand and keep up. Now the very first step, step number 1, is you need to make a decision. Most gurus skip this step altogether. If you click on videos that are usually titled like this, people are like, get up early, like, I don't know, set a schedule, or like, I don't know, start working out. Well, all that is bullshit. First, you need to make a decision. You need to decide, do you like genuinely want to be ahead of 99% of students? Because usually there's a price for that. And what I mean by that is it's nice to have. It's a nice thought. Yes, of course, everyone wants to be ahead of 99% of other people. But like, do you actually want that? Is that like a genuine desire that you are willing to turn into a goal? Or is that just kind of a nice to have wish? And the reason you need to make a decision, because you need to decide if you want it to be a goal or a desire. A desire is just something that you want. A goal is like taking that desire and turning it into like a plan and like something that you're actually going to pursue. Now, how do you decide whether you want to be a top 1% student or not? Well, it's actually pretty easy. Picture that this is you right now. And if you're watching this, I'm guessing you're somewhere between, I don't know, like 15 to like, I don't know, let's say 30 years old, or like, I don't know, however old you are. And let's say that there's 2 different paths you can take in life, where in both of these paths, you're like, let's say 95 years old. I don't know, let's say like that's the age, like for whatever reason, you are like really, really old and you're like on your deathbed. And in both of these situations, like this is a bed, this is a pillow, this is like your head, and this is like you on your deathbed. And you're having thoughts and you're thinking about 2 kind of like, there's 2 kinds of lives that you lived. One where you achieved like everything that you want. One where like you look back on your life and you're like, man, like I wasted my life. So these are 2 different paths that you can take. One very simple exercise you can do is you can try to describe in as much detail as possible, like you on your deathbed, what would it look like looking back on an amazing life, an exceptional life you're proud of, something you really, really are proud of achieving. And then alternatively, you think of the other alternative, the undesirable situation, which is you're 95 on your deathbed and you're thinking about like the worst life possible. Like you wasted so many opportunities, you're like all by yourself, no one loves you, like, I don't know, you might even be in jail or like, I don't know, like just everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. And then you just simply make a decision and you're like, okay, do I genuinely want to pursue this life? Or like, and what is the cost of if I pursue this life? Like, is it really that bad? And there is no self-judgment. And I say that because If you decide that you want to be a top 1% student or 99% of people, great, then that's good. We get that out of the way. We move on to steps through 5. But if you don't want that, that is totally okay. Unlike what most self-help gurus say, not everyone needs to go and pursue like crazy amounts of success. Like, you need to do what you genuinely want to do. And this is a great moment where we define success. Success is doing what you want in life. Success is not like making some amount of money or like, I don't know, doing anything crazy. Success is literally you figuring out what you want, what makes you happy, and you just go out and get it. And if you can do that, then you're really, really successful. So you go ahead and make that decision. But I'm gonna go ahead and make the assumption that you made the decision of wanting to be ahead of 99% students, and you're ready to turn it into a plan and a goal, not just a wish. Well, then that takes us to step number 2, which is download the right brain software. And you might think, what the hell does that mean? What does download the right brain software means? Well, okay, once you decide that you actually want to achieve something crazy with your life, such as, I don't know, being ahead of 99% of other students, you need to think of your brain as a computer, where like there are certain lines of code that are sitting in the operating system, and that literally dictates how like you behave and how you act and how you carry yourself and how you show up to things. Well, these lines of codes, they're also known as beliefs. Beliefs are basically just like little thoughts that you have that kind of you absorbed when you're a kid. You probably learned them from your teacher, from your parents, from someone else. And these are the things that literally run your life. Because for example, if I have a belief that, like, I'll give you a very simple story. When I started engineering school, I had the belief that engineering was very, very hard. That's because I had teachers, people, society telling me, oh my God, engineering is like the hardest thing ever. Engineering is like the craziest thing ever. So I literally had that belief in my head. I didn't even know it was there. I just like always had the lens of like engineering is hard. So like I would take, I don't know, my very first semester in college, I would get a Calc 1 assignment and like I would be terrified. Like even though it would be like a very easy derivative, but like I would go in with like the anxiety of like, oh my God, this thing's supposed to be hard. And I remember just one day sitting like, is engineering actually hard? And then I looked up how many people graduate in engineering, and I don't know, it was like hundreds of thousands of people per year worldwide. And I was like, dude, like millions of people have done this degree, and I'm willing, and I've met a lot of engineers who were very, very dumb. And I was like, if these people can do it, like I can definitely do it. That definitely doesn't mean it's hard. It's actually pretty easy because there's like structure, there's exams, there's assignments. You just literally gotta like sit down, do the assignments, show up to class, ask the professor some questions. Of course, you're gonna struggle a bit, and then like you just get through it. Like it's actually pretty easy. It's like a very well systemized and structured thing. Of course, it's gonna require some difficulty and tenacity for you to actually get through it, but it's actually pretty easy. And then here's the crazy thing: when I changed my mindset from like engineering is hard to like engineering is pretty easy. People have done this. It's so funny. My grades went up, my happiness went up. I got involved in a lot of projects, and I just like gained a lot more confidence just by literally changing one line of code inside my brain. So you want to go ahead and identify certain beliefs that are kind of maybe kind of creeping in, and you want to understand that in order for you to achieve your goals, you need the right lines of code. You need the right beliefs. You need beliefs that you can definitely be in the top 1%. It's definitely possible. Other people have done it. You can do it as well. You need to focus on what it is that their strengths are, and figure out what those are, and you focus on them. You need to just like fill your brain with like really good software. Just write really good software for your brain. Put good stuff in there. Put good beliefs in there. Try to cut out as much crap as possible. Try to spend less time on social media. These are all like little things that you can do, but you definitely need like a very solid operating system in order for you to operate this machinery, this hardware. So once you do that, that takes us to step number 3, which is systems. Now, what do I mean by systems? I mean, develop like a very systematic understanding of the world, and you need to be able to zoom in and zoom out. And let me give you an example. What most people kind of like, I don't know, let's say go to engineering or college or whatever, they just show up to class, they get handed a syllabus, they do some assignments, and then they just kind of like, I don't know, do the assignments, and then they move on, and then they take the exam, and then they graduate. And this whole thing happens, and they don't like stop to think about the ecosystem or the environment in which it happens. So you need to, like, if this was like a system, like let's say, I don't know, this is college, and here you have classes. And most people stop here. They think of like only class, only assignments. But then if you zoom out, and like most people are zoomed in, they're literally like inside this box, and they can't see outside. But if you do what I did in college, you zoom out, and you look around and you're like, what even is college, or like what is school right now? And you see there's classes, and then you say, whoa, there's projects. And then you say, whoa, there's like internships. And then you say, whoa, there's like professors whom you can talk to outside of class about things not related to class. And then you're like, whoa, there's like other stuff going on and whatnot. And then you kind of go in and zoom out. And then let's say within the classes, I'll give you an example. Like let's say, I don't know, I study electrical engineering. So like let's say here I had power, and then here I had communication systems. Now, because like let's say and I'll give you a personal story. I remember one time I was sitting in my power systems class. It was the very first day of class, and it was my junior year, and I knew at that point I don't care about power systems that much. I care a lot more about telecommunications, wireless communications, electromagnetics. These were kind of things I was already interested in. It was junior year, so I kind of had a better idea of what I wanted to do with my life. And I like in that power class, I literally showed up first day, and I was like, hey, you know what? Like this class is probably a big waste of my time. And I looked at the syllabus, and the attendance was 5%. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the L on this 5%, and I'm just not gonna show up to this class. Now, why was I able to do that? Because within that class, I was able to zoom out and see like how the grades were broken down, and I figured out I could just go study on my own with very little time and probably get at least like a B+ or A-. And then I wanted to spend more of my time on communication systems. So I was able to zoom out and say, okay, I'm gonna allocate the bare minimum amount of time to power, which allows me to allocate more time to communications. And then I basically took that time that other students were spending in class working on communications projects. I joined a CubeSat lab where I was working on antennas, and I was working on radios, and I was working on other things relating to communications. And then that's also because I was zooming out, and I knew that within this class, I was spending more time on projects and other things, and applying for internships and working on my resume. And at the same time, out of all that, I was also like working on writing, I was joining music classes, I was meeting other people to improve my social skills. So you definitely need the ability to think in systems. You need to be able to like know when to zoom in on a specific task or a component, and then when to zoom out and look at the whole ecosystem and understand where to allocate your time and energy. That's a very, very important skill to have. This right here is something that makes someone like Elon Musk really, really good at identifying bottleneck in his company, allocating resources. This makes someone like Jeff Bezos very good at identifying bottlenecks, allocating resources in their company. And I mentioned these two people, for example, because they are people who, like Elon Musk studied physics, Jeff Bezos studied electrical engineering. So they are people who, through studying engineering and physics, developed this systems thinking approach, and then they applied it to business, they applied it to entrepreneurship. And it's a very, very important skill. If they can do it in their businesses, you can do it in your personal life as well, because I applied it in my personal life, and it was something that was very, very helpful. So one last note on this idea of systems thinking. In my opinion, the best way to develop in addition to thinking in systems, you really need to get like a deep understanding of how the world works, which means you need to learn physics very deeply. Like you need to understand, if you understand mechanics and if you understand electromagnetics, in my opinion, that's like 99% of the relevant physics for like day-to-day life and just like thinking and making decisions. If you can understand these things very, very deeply, coupled with developing the skill of like knowing when to step back, knowing when to step in and go full force on something, that alone can put you honestly ahead of like top 0.1% of people. Like genuinely, I really think that is the case. Which brings us to step number 4. Suppose you develop that. You need to learn how to master serendipity and focus. And what I mean by this is, let's imagine a spectrum where here something called serendipity, and I'm going to explain what this means, exists. Here something called focus exists. And think of serendipity as saying yes to things. Think of focus as saying no to things. I'll give you an example. It's Friday night, and your friend messages you, and there's a party. And your friend is like, hey, you should come with us to this party. Do you say yes, or do you say no? There's actually a very engineering/math way of thinking about this, and this is what I apply my day-to-day life. And if you apply this cumulatively, I think it's going to serve you very well. Here's my thought is, If you know exactly what you want and you have a crystal clear goal and that goal is urgent, you should sit somewhere like closer to here. You should be closer to saying no to like quote opportunities or things that happen. If you are at a stage in life where you like don't know what you're doing, which by the way, nothing's wrong with that. And I'm gonna actually tell you about what to do when you're here. We're gonna talk about iteration. But if you don't know what you're doing with your life and you're kind of still open to ideas and you're open to things and you're kind of still wondering and you're still kind of figuring it out, you should sit somewhere over here. And basically the more like quote lost or like you're still figuring it out or you're still kind of trying out things and you haven't found that one thing, you will lean more towards saying yes to anything that comes your way, especially if it's like a networking opportunity, I don't know, going out and meeting new people, signing up for a club, checking out a new class, any type of thing with novelty or an opportunity, you should lean more towards saying yes if you don't know what you're doing. If you have a crystal clear goal and you know exactly it's what you want, and it's just you have urgency and you want to relentlessly focus on it, then these kind of opportunities start becoming distractions. Because yes, there's a 1% chance you may meet like the love of your life or whatnot, but there's a 99% chance you won't. And then if you do that repeatedly, then you're gonna end up sacrificing the goal that you're focusing on. So when I was when I was like 17 or 18 years old, like I started college when I was 17 years old. I was like here. I was like just like showing up to like everything. Like I joined like literally everything, like when I was a freshman. And then as I got closer and closer to figuring out electrical engineering, which was my major, I started going more over here. And now at this stage in life, I just turned 28 very recently. I would say I'm like here. Like you really have to, I am so focused on the things I'm working on, between the research I'm doing at NASA, between some other personal projects, between, for example, right now making videos for you guys so you guys can learn things, between running my business, between running my YouTube channels, flying lessons. Like there's a lot of cool stuff, making music. There's a lot of stuff that I'm so focused on doing that you really need to convince, if an opportunity comes my way, you really need to convince me that it's like worthwhile. Otherwise, like I'm probably gonna say no. Obviously, you still always want to leave like a little bit of room. You don't want to be like so hard focused that you're saying no to anything, because that's gonna kill the magic of life. But I'm just showing you that this is me at like 17, and then this is me 17/18, and then this is me at like 27/28. And I think that's kind of the natural progression. And again, if you just understand the spectrum and you're honest enough with yourself to see where you are in life, and if you're in college, if you're in high school, honestly, I would lean a lot more towards here. Like just be open-minded, try a lot of things, say yes to a lot of things, because you're gonna meet amazing people, and then these people are gonna tell you what to do with your life. Now, the second part of that is, how do you actually migrate from here to here? Because obviously, if you want to achieve something really substantial over your life, you need to focus, right? Well, the way to do that is through iteration. Like I have a very unconventional method of doing things in life. I switched my major 4 times. So like the way most people think is, oh my God, I need to think very hard about what I got to do, and like I need to figure it out, and then I'm gonna pick one thing and I'm gonna run with it. And I see that a lot in college. Like a lot of people pick a major and then they stick with it, and then even if they don't really like it that much, they just stick with it, because people tell you like stick to it and like stick to things and like just kind of push through and whatnot. I don't like that. I don't like that school of thought. I have the school of thought of like, if I'm not having fun and if I'm not enjoying like what I'm doing, and if I'm not curious about it, if I'm not passionate about it, I'm probably gonna suck. I'm probably gonna be nowhere near the top 1% in that category. So I'm gonna shift gears, and that's exactly what happened. I started out in filming and writing, and I realized pretty quickly the school I went to, University of Buffalo, was not the best in the world at like filming and writing. UB, I love you so much. You have an amazing department, but your filming media needs some work. So I figured out, okay, pretty quickly, okay, I could be a writer and make films on my own, like in my free time. And then I switched to mechanical engineering, and then like that was not so much fun. I just didn't really enjoy mechanics. It was kind of like very intuitive to me, like, okay, yeah, fine, forces, friction, whatever. Like it's kind of boring. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I should do aerospace, because airplanes are really cool and I love airplanes. It was kind of it was also boring to me. It was just basically like mechanical engineering, but like with planes. You could argue the only cool class really is aerodynamics. You still kind of need to, again, learn the statics, dynamics, the mechanics. Not very interesting. And then I was like, okay, I'm very interested in human body. Let me switch to biomedical engineering. So my freshman my freshman fall, I was doing biomedical engineering. And then in parallel to that, I was taking some of the aerospace mechanical classes. And then I was like, yeah, man, there's a new major. It's not really what I want to do. And then again, serendipity, just by sheer coincidence, I bumped into some people into a library who were studying electrical engineering. And they were doing some circuit diagrams. They were doing microelectronics. And I was like, whoa, this looks really cool. What are you guys drawing and whatnot? We had a conversation. And then I ended up switching to electrical engineering. And then as I switched to electrical engineering and I started actually really liking it, and for example, signals and systems was like my favorite class. It was like something I was fascinated by. I started migrating over here. And as time went on, I did a lot of internships. I did a lot of, like, basically what I'm trying to tell you is the way to like find out whatever it is you need to focus on is you just try like a bunch of stuff. And as soon as you try them, you start migrating towards an area you can focus on. Why is this relevant to being ahead of 99% people? Because if you want to be ahead of 99% of people, you need to really like what you do and you need to be really good at it. And the only way to find what you like and be really good at it is just to try a bunch of stuff, iterate relentlessly, keep going and keep trying things until you find that one thing where you're like, okay, yeah, this is actually something I envision myself being good at. And then once you do that, you're golden. Now, obviously, this also has this step number 4 is pregnant with step number 5, because there's another lesson or piece of advice that I have, which is about like mentorship / advice. And what I'm going to say here is extremely important. If you want to be ahead of 99% of people, you need the right mentorship, and you need the right guidance, and you need the right advice. And you need to take advice from people you respect. I'm going to say that again. You need to take advice from people you respect, and ideally people who have your results. For example, if your goal is to be a top engineer, you cannot go and ask someone who hasn't even studied engineering how to be a top engineer. They don't have the result. They don't know. They may give you some good generic advice, but they literally don't know. Like if you need to find people who have done what you're trying to do or are good at the thing that you're trying to get good at. You need to learn from them and only learn from them, because if you just take advice from like everyone, and this is something that breaks my heart, because when it comes to career or studying or college or things of that nature, we tend to ask our friends and family who very often are very well-meaning and well-intentioned, but they will give us advice based on their beliefs, and they may not even have the results that we want, you know? And so we end up getting is like advice that's probably not accurate, coupled with beliefs that probably are not very good for you either. So that ends up being something really, really well. So you need to take advice from people who have your results, and you ideally want to take advice from people you respect, because when you're taking someone's advice, you're basically telling them, or you're telling yourself, I am willing to take the action this person's recommending, because I'm like, you're basically partially becoming that person. And you want to, like, something that's very, very important in life is self-respect and respecting yourself and being someone who you genuinely enjoy being. And that reflects a lot in the advice that you need to take. So if you're someone who's trying to get ahead of 99% of people, one way I did it is I just had like some of the craziest and best mentors anyone could ask for in engineering and in life in general. I just go and I find amazing people and I just ask them questions. And they see that I have a genuine desire to improve, and they see that I'm like sharp and I'm willing to learn things, and I'm willing to do things. And then they just help me. They're like, yeah, this is how you do it. Obviously, it doesn't happen most of the time. Like, to give you some perspective, when I was in college, my very first year, freshman spring, I sent out, I think, 44 emails to professors to help them for free in undergraduate research, and I think only 5 or 4 replied, and I worked with one of them. So I'm not saying that everyone's gonna, pick up the phone and answer your questions, but some of the people, like, if you ask enough times and people see that you have genuine curiosity and desire to learn, people are gonna see that you want to learn, and then they're gonna want to help you. Anyway, that being said, those are pretty much the 5 steps. So again, summarize. So the first step is decide. Second step is download brain software. Third step is become a systems thinker / learn physics ways of thinking and apply them to the real world. Fourth step, we talked about serendipity and focus, so like yes versus no. Learn that spectrum very well, do not forget that spectrum. And then number 5, ask advice from people whose results you want to embody, and find the right mentors and stand on the shoulders of giants. Because if Isaac Newton did it, Richard Feynman did it, if Albert Einstein did it, if a lot of engineers did it, if I did it, and everyone's telling you like you should go and do that, then you should definitely go ahead and do that. And again, if you like my results, if you watch my videos and you're like, wow, this guy has a good understanding of physics, math, engineering, this guy has accomplished a lot of things I would like to accomplish, then you should take my advice. If you don't like my results, then I have nothing against that, then you should not take my advice. Because if you take my advice, you're gonna probably get results closer to mine. And if you take someone else's advice, you're gonna take results closer to theirs. So find out what results you want, see who has them, and then just go ahead and take the advice of that person. And then obviously always use your critical thinking. With that being said, I apologize if the video is a bit rambly. It is very late at night and I only had time to record this video right now, and I figured it's better to record this kind of rough than to not record it at all. So I'm hoping you've at least learned something. With that being said, you're gonna have another video of mine pop up over here. There's probably gonna be one on systems thinking, because that's just something that's extremely, extremely important. So if it's popping up here or in the description or in the comments, just do yourself a favor, go ahead and watch that. That video is gonna change your life. And I'll see you there. Peace, love.